Oh my, no, oh my God, what would I sing? How would I sing Oh my God? See, that's a perfect example of not being connected. Because if I just sang it as opposed to thought about singing it, then we'd be done now. You'd have the camera in your bag. But, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So, yeah.
Hey
Up, lad.
hey up, lad.
Hey up.
Off with it gums.
Off with it gums.
Off with it gums.
With thou gums.
Eba gum.
Off with it gums.
Off with it gums. Okay. So let's start with saying who you are, where we are.
My name is Seal. We are in Los Angeles, California, and we are about to conduct. What are we conducting, Peter?
An interview.
An interview. My name is Seal. We're in Los Angeles, California. It is the 15th of February, 2008.
I'm going to go straight in, Seal, and ask you a question. What is God?
What is God? God is an energy. Or rather, what is my perception of God? My perception of God is that it is this infinite energy that is visible all around us if you care to look. It's right in front of us. I don't know if it's necessarily given us life, but I think it's confirming. It's constantly confirming life. I think it's constantly showing us evidence of life. And you can see that through, looking at nature, looking at human beings, looking at your reflection. I think God is pretty much everywhere, and it's constantly showing us a confirmation of its existence. I think a lot of religions tend to fight with each other because of man's bastardization of religion. I think that through the years, or throughout our history, religion has been interpreted and reinterpreted and rewritten by man, and in many ways, I think not all religion, but a lot of religion has kind of been deformed and restructured for purposes of control rather than to realign oneself with one's origin, which is my interpretation of religion, and I think is the kind of original intention of religion. I don't think it was ever meant to cause people to fight. I just think it was a means by which one could determine right from wrong. I don't think it was meant to be anything more than that.
Do you pray to God?
Do I pray to God? I used to pray a lot more, physically pray, and that came in the way of everything from when I was a child, kneeling down at night or first thing in the morning and praying to God, simply because that's the way we were raised. I used to pray at Sunday school, and then in my early teens late teens and early 20s, I practiced Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism for a while, and that involved chanting, which is a form of prayer, reciting something called Gongyo, which is the writings of Nichiren Daishonin, a Japanese Buddhist monk, in a little book, and I would recite that morning and evening. And so I guess that's a form of prayer. Do I pray now? Well, that's kind of debatable because I do believe there's such a thing as silent prayer. I think whether that sounds hypocritical, I'm not quite sure about that. But there's certainly I believe that you can pray silently. I don't believe that you have to kneel down at bedtime, or you have to go to a church to pray. I mean, it depends what you're praying to, really. I think that meditation can be perceived as a form of prayer, and I certainly meditate, spend time alone and try and clear my head and focus on my thoughts and on the thought at hand, and try and reconnect with myself. So I guess that's a form of prayer, but I don't pray in the biblical sense. I don't say, I don't recite the Lord's Prayer or anything like that.
When you, you're obviously a very talented singer, musician, songwriter.
Oh, thank you, Peter.
Well, I'm not lying. I happen to share the thoughts of millions of people across the world. But when you're on stage and you're singing and you're reaching out to people and people are clearly enjoying your music and you're giving something to them, do you feel that anything like that, like what you feel when you're doing that, has anything to do with God or the energy?
Absolutely. I think, I've often said to people, there comes a point when you're performing, and it can happen very early on in the show. It can take an hour and a half. It could be the last the last emotion or that you have before you leave the stage. But there comes a point where you're singing something and you're trying to rediscover that place that inspired you to write that song in the first time, which is basically the job of any performer. You try and tell the truth, and you try and reconnect. In order to tell the truth, you try and reconnect with whatever it was that inspired you to begin with. And so quite often I'll be sort of like in deep engaged in that emotion with my eyes closed, and I'll be singing a song, and I'll open my eyes and I'll catch the eyes of somebody in the audience, usually in the first or second row, because you can't really see beyond that. But there will be that moment where you know that you have connected with that person, and that emotion, that feeling is mutual. And I think that's probably the single greatest phenomenon with regards to music is that ability to connect through this thing which transcends language, transcends just about every kind of barrier you can put in front of it. I mean, if you listen to somebody singing a love song in Arabic, you don't need to be able to speak Arabic to understand or to connect with the emotion of that. And so I do think that is some kind of evidence of God taking place, is this frequency that two people can vibrate on at the same time and connect in this kind of infinite knowing and understanding that kind of transcends all the things I mentioned before. And so I think that's definitely evidence of God taking place. I've been singing for as long as I can remember, and I do it not necessarily for a job, although I'm fortunate in that I'm rewarded, financially for it. But I do it because I have to, and I've often thought that it would be really problematic for me if I couldn't do that, if I couldn't express it that way, because essentially that's what it is. It's this kind of, it's this way of venting, of expressing, of communicating. And I think that I would become very ill if I couldn't do that. So I kind of do it because I have to, and I think, therefore, there is something quite godlike about that. I mean, not in myself, but I think there's some kind of godlike phenomenon taking place when you can express in that way, in this kind of universal language that never ceases to amaze. Just when you think you've figured out the formula for it, the formula for writing a song or for kind of conveying a certain emotion, something happens which just proves you completely wrong and rewrites the whole theory again. God is never referred to as her, and so again, I think that's just another example of man's distortion of God, or of what God is. I mean, I do it myself, on occasion. In fact, not as often as I used to, but I do think that God is just this energy that it's a kind of universal energy that vibrates at a certain frequency, and I think that whenever you hear people talk about nirvana, or whenever you see or you hear people talk about bodhisattva or enlightenment, or whenever you see a great athlete do something which is just incredible, like you see Michael Jordan take that game-winning shot, or Tiger Woods under extreme pressure, or Gretzky or Roger Federer. Whenever you see them in that now all too familiar situation where it's almost as if they let go. When you see people like that who are